Hey there, in this video I'm going to walk you through the steps of putting together an app that is called Healthy Recipes. This app is going to have two screens in it, and the first screen is going to look like what you see here on the screen, and this is what we're going to walk through together. So first things first, in your Android Studio you want to do File, New, and New Project. And the first thing you need to do, of course, is to give it a name. So we will call it Healthy Recipes. Company domain, and then of course your project location. And click Next. After that, we have to select our form factor, and we're sticking with phone and tablet, and then your minimum SDK. Click Next. Here we have to select an activity, and we're just going to go with empty activity and click Next. We have to put at least one default activity, and we'll leave it just as it is, main activity, and click Finish. Then our Android Studio is going to do its magic and put together our project for us so we can get started in the coding of our Healthy Recipes app. And remember to pay attention down here at the bottom of your screen, because that's going to tell you when it's done doing all of its stuff. Alright, if you'll remember, in the project folders over here, we're going to go to the activity main.xml. And by doing that, that is going to show us a rendering of our mobile app screen and what it's going to look like. I'm going to go ahead and change this one to Nexus 5 by clicking up here at the top and dropping down the list of the available virtual devices we have. Now I'm going to actually click on the Hello World default control that was put out there, and I'm just going to delete it because we want to start from the start with this one. We don't need any pre-configured controls sitting out there. Now what we're going to do, instead of directly hard-coding and typing things onto the screen itself, we are going to use that strings.xml file that I talked about in the Hello World video. So once again, you'll remember that's over in the res folder, subfolder values, and then strings.xml. So I'm going to click on that and bring that up to the screen, and right now you'll see it's got one default, which is the name of my app. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go through and we are going to add some strings out there for our application to use. Now again, just to recall, the strings.xml file, that's a default file, and every Android application is going to have a strings.xml whether you use it or not. But it's good to use because it's a good place to store all of the commonly used strings for your application. And think about it as a big code table, and a string is just a series of alphanumeric characters, and it will let us use spaces and use different types of characters here. And it's going to put it into this table, and every string is going to have a key and an ID property. That way, when we wire it up to our controls, it'll be able to make that connection and find it. And you'll see what I'm talking about here really shortly. Alright, so the app that I showed you when we first started, that I kind of already had started, we had a title, we had a picture, and we had a button. So we are going to be setting up a text view, an image view, and then a button. And these are the three controls that we're going to start out with, and these are what we're going to be adding into our strings.xml file. So to do that, we're going to click on Open Editor. And again, there's just one thing in there right now, and it's here's the ID for it, here's the key. It's app_name, and the default value right now is Healthy Recipes. So to add something to that, you're simply going to click on the Add key, and then here you're going to actually put in the titles and the default values as we want it to be within our application. So the first one is going to be text title. And the title of our little recipe here is bruschetta. And yes, I have a hard time typing and sometimes spelling, but don't hold that against me. All right, bruschetta, love it, it's good. And then it tells us what resource folder it is going to be stored in. And later, that is where we will make the connection to our control and bring it back up from this resource file. So, key, default value, it's already defaulted to the resource folder, click OK. And boom, now we have that. All right, so that's our title. The next one we need to add is our image. So for this one, we are going to just call it description. And we're going to name it recipe image. And click OK. The next one is going to be for our button. And we're going to start out with lowercase btn so that everybody knows we're referring to a button. And we want our button to say view recipe. And we're going to drop that down into the resource folder as well. Alright, now when we're done with this application, it's going to have two screens. So the first screen is going to come up, the title, the picture, the button. You'll click the button for the bruschetta recipe. The second screen is going to show you the ingredients and the instructions for making the bruschetta. So because we're using strings and we're not hard coding things, we can use certain things over again when it's applicable. So the text title for a bruschetta recipe can be used over again on the second screen, but we do have some new things that will appear on the second screen that we also want to include inside of this strings.xml file. So let's go ahead and add those. So the first one, we are going to have some ingredients. So just the text field, ingredients. And we're going to call it ingredients. Remember, by the way, that when we use this strings.xml file, there's something called location that the Android app can do, and location allows the application to actually easily translate between different languages. So by setting it up like this, it might seem like not a necessary thing that you would have to do, but in the end, it will make your app more user-friendly. All right, so text ingredients, and we want the default value to be ingredients. Click OK. Now we have to actually put our ingredients in. So we're going to have another text. We'll call it text item 1. And this is where we're going to start putting in our actual ingredients: tomatoes. And notice I'm using a certain naming convention, just like good programming practice calls us to do. So the next one is text item 2, and we have some more ingredients. 6 basil leaves. Click OK. Next one is text item 3. 3 garlic cloves. Chopped. Text item 4. 3 TB. Is that tablespoon? I think it's tablespoon. Olive oil. Now we need to set up a box for directions. So text directions. Default value of directions. And the next one, text txt mix. And these are our instructions. So we are going to combine the ingredients and add salt to taste. I never know what that means. Top the French bread slices with mixture. Sounds yummy. Alright, so your screen should look like this, minus anything that I misspelled or punctuation issues. It will look similar to this. So these are all of our key values that we have inside of our strings.xml file. Now we can simply close out of the translation editor. And at this particular point in time, I think we want to save. So let's save all. Make sure everything's good to go. Now let's go ahead and pop back into our emulator screen here and back into the activity_main.xml file. And let's add these controls out to our screen here, and we will wire those up with the strings that we just put together in our strings.xml file. Alright, so if you remember, we had a title, we had a picture, and we had a button. So we're going to add controls for those three things on this first screen of our app here. So first thing we need to do is we need to look in our widgets folder here, and we are going to be looking for the plain view text view control. So we're just going to click on that, and we're going to drag that over and put it to the top there of our application. And you can try to line it up, but we're going to be messing with it, so it'll get better as we go, so you can just kind of leave it for now. Once you get that over there, then what you're going to do is you are going to double click on it. Then what we're going to do for the ID, this is where we're going to call it text title. That's the ID. Then as far as the text goes, we are going to actually click on the ... here. And what that is going to do, you're going to see it's bringing up our resource folder. So it's bringing up the valid resources that we have, that we just put in. And this is where we're going to be able to line that up with the actual name of our title that we wanted to hook up to the actual title itself. So we are going to go in here and look for the title. As you scroll down, you'll find it in the list. You also can do some positioning. But here it is. And you see if I click on it, it's going to show me the string value. So I could click through all my things and see what I have. So text title is one I want, so I'm going to click OK with that. And then what you'll see is that we now have bruschetta recipe showing up just like we wanted. And over here you'll notice that it's got the code behind it, and it's got the @string. So it's dealing with all that XML. Remember this? If you click on this text thing over here, yeah, it's doing all that for us. So that's pretty nice. Alright, so click back on that again. Now what we want to do is we want to deal with the sizing properties of that to make that look a little bit better. So down here in the properties, so bottom right, we are going to look for the actual text size property. Once we get there, the easiest way to change it is just to type in it. So we're going to scale that to a 40. And then what you'll see is voila, it's looking so marvelous. So I'm going to scoot it over there a little bit, and then there is the bruschetta. Alright, the second control we need to add in there is the picture. So this one will probably go a little bit faster. So what we need to do here is, first of all, we need to add that bruschetta picture. We need a picture, and it's out there on Blackboard for you. We need to add that out there into this folder called drawable. That is where the images are stored for us in the Android Studio. So I actually have that right here, and I'm going to do a Control-C or Command-C, I'm on my Mac, and then I'm going to come over here in Drawable and do a Command-V to paste that. When I do that, and I had to do it twice, when I did that, the second time it worked, so what it's going to do is set up the copy paste for me, and I'm going to say OK. Now, you need to go out on Blackboard, download that, and then copy paste it or drag it over there. There's a couple different ways to go about it. But however you do it, it just needs to be over there inside of that drawable folder so that I can hook it up to my control. Alright, so now that we have that inside of our drawable folder, we can go ahead and add that control to our UI. So back over in our widgets now, we are going to be looking for an image view. So we're going to add an image view controller. So I'm going to click and drag that over to my screen. And again, we'll get it all lined out, so don't worry so much about that at the start. Then I'm going to double click it just like I did before, because we're going to wire that up and connect it up just as we did. So this one's going to be the ID of lowercase img and then recipe. I'm going to click the dot dot dot. And you can see that it knows it's an image control, so automatically it's going to put me in the resource place into the drawable folder. It's helping me out here. And I want to look at my project folder. And there is my bruschetta picture. And I can click OK on that and bring that over to my screen. So that's an awesome, easy way. So imagine if you had an application for a company that had the picture of the company or like the logo over and over and over and over again, like on every screen of like a 50 screen app. Using that strings file, you could just do that once and then bring that over, and then let's say the company got bought out or they had a name change, let's say they were incorporated, then you could go in and change it one place and it would automatically update everything instead of having to go in a million times and change it. So it's something that you might not think would happen, but I can promise you it probably will at some point in time. Alright, so we're here and we have our bruschetta picture and it's looking pretty good. Last thing is to hook up the actual button. So what we need to do now is go back over to our widgets, and we're just going to use a button, just a plain old button. Drag that over to our screen, and of course we're going to double click it like we did before. We're going to change the ID, so lowercase btn. Click the dot dot dot, and here we want to look for our button recipe. There it is. And you see that it changed. It now says view recipe. I want to come over and change the text size for this one as well. And we're going to go 36 SP on that one. Alright, so I have an awesome big button. Even I can read that. Alright, so that's the first screen for our application. In the next video, we will talk about creating some activities to go along with it.